So hello everyone and welcome to how to make good presentations. So we're going to dive into the idea of making ideas stick in people's heads. So we're not going to just talk about like how to make a good presentation. We're going to talk about sticky ideas. And this presentation actually came from someone else. I did not originate it, but it is really good. I have put it in the web course if you want to flip through it at your own leisure. But this is what we will be going over today. Okay. I hope this will work. Okay. So, have you ever heard this story? A businessman, a frequent traveler, was returning from a meeting with clients. He stopped at the airport bar and an attractive woman approached him and offered to buy him a drink. He said, "Sure." She returned with 2 drinks. He took a sip of his, and that's the last thing he remembered until he woke up in a bathtub full of ice with his kidneys missing. Has anyone heard that story before? Probably. If you haven't, it is an urban legend. And does anyone have any other examples of urban legends? You can write it in the chat or you can unmute yourself and tell us your urban legend that you remember. Or raise your hand and I can call on you. Alligators coming up through the toilets. You know, actually snakes really can do that, but it's very rare. It is terrifying. Does anyone want to raise their hand and tell us the urban legend? No one? A lot of times I hear things about people thinking about like chupacabra or Bigfoot or Jersey Devil, like those types of animals, right? We talk about in urban legends. Yes, I cannot say that, Victoria. I'm terrible at saying it. La Llorona, is that right? Like the crying lady?
Llorona, yeah, the Llorona.
Did I say it right?
Kind of. It's like a Y, La Llorona.
There you go. And what's the urban legend around her?
So she's a weeping woman, basically. Well, there's like different variations, but I guess the most common one is that she drowned her kids because her husband left her or something like that. And then she goes around screaming, my children, in Spanish. And yeah, she like haunts people, I guess.
That's a perfect example. Someone also said Abominable Snowman or Bloody Mary. Those are all great urban legends. Okay, so they stick in our brains, right? Why do we think these urban legends stick in our brains? So we also use this as an example. We played Dumb Ways to Die at the beginning. If you haven't seen it before, there's a link in the module. You can watch it. And one of the things that we think of with urban legends is that they're just like in our brains, right? Like you really remember them. We're going to dig into why we're remembering these things. So you all said earlier, this is really catchy, and it's the perfect example of presenting a way in which they stick in our brains. So thousands of ideas are born every day, and some of them thrive. Those are the sticky ones. And then while other ones just go down the drain. So a sticky idea is understood, remembered, and it changes something. So I really want you all to think about this because as you're working with your organizations this year or throughout your life, you will have to present ideas and you want people to remember them. You want people to understand them and you want it to change something about their actions. Okay, so why did I pick this one? It is super cute, but that is not the only reason. It really displays the acronym of success, and yes, that is with just one S at the end, SUCCES. So we're going to go through and hopefully you're going to remember what all these things mean. But the first S is that this idea of dumb ways to die is really simple, right? It's super unexpected, right? You have these like cute little things and then they start like dying off in weird ways. It's concrete, right? You see what is happening, like this is happening right now. You see really concrete whenever you're talking about like Abominable Snowman, like you could see that snowman, right? It's the same example. It's credible because where's the source? Where's this coming from? It gives you an emotional response, right? In this case, you're probably laughing. You're like, what are these little things doing? It could be something that's really scary. So we remember things like Bloody Mary. And then also there's a story arc to it. So we're going to dive into each one of these things individually. I also want to tell you that I am monitoring the chat. So if you have questions, feel free to drop them in there or comments. Or if you want to share something, raise your hand. I can unmute you and we can chat. Okay. So the first thing is that your idea, whatever it is that you want to give, has to be simple. Okay. The core message, you have to find the single most important thing that you want to communicate. Using schemas to build on existing knowledge of your audience. So think about your memory like Velcro, right? You've got all these little loops in your brain that are all your existing knowledge. You want to give someone extra knowledge that is a hook, that hooks into those things. If you gave them more loops to learn, it doesn't connect to anything, it's harder to stick in there. So you want to communicate with an analogy or a high concept pitch. Say a lot with a little, don't overdo it, but you're not dumbing down what you're saying. You're just making it really simple to understand. If you have a really complex issue, like one of the things that I'm thinking about is I work with alternative breaks, and there's like so many things with so many social issues, but we have to like distill it down so that students understand like what is it about why I would want to participate in something like this. So that's what it means to be simple. Okay, so now we're talking a lot about memory. So I want to go into and help you start thinking about how memory works, okay? Okay, so we're gonna do a little exercise here. Let's see if I can pull it up in one of my other. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we are going to think about different things. So I want you to take a moment, get yourself in a comfortable place, and the first thing that I want you to do is I want you to do is while I say these things is I want you to see how it feels to think about different things. How are those memories placed differently in your brain? Okay, so you can close your eyes if you want. If you want to keep them open, that's fine. But just really think about what I'm going to tell you. So I'm going to give you different prompts. The first one is, remember the capital of Kansas. Number 2, remember the first line of your favorite song. Number 3, remember the Mona Lisa. Number 4, remember the house where you spent most of your childhood. Next, remember the definition of truth. And the last one, remember the definition of watermelon. Okay, so if you close your eyes, you can open them back up. We are done. I'd love for someone to give us their feedback on doing that type of an exercise. What did it feel like to remember those different types of things?
Hello, I like to jump in. I find that the things that were close to me, that had like a personal connection, were much easier to recall than something that was a bit more abstract.
Yeah, so you're really hitting on that idea of concrete. It's something concrete or something you've experienced. It's much easier. Yeah, I love that. Anyone else want to? You're getting a lot of saying.
For me, when you told us to remember the house where we spent most of our childhood, like I do not envision things very well. So like the Mona Lisa, I'm like, there's a person there, like, okay. But as soon as you said like my childhood home, it was just like a feeling of like safety. And like immediately I could remember that rather than some of the other things.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different senses that go into memory too, right? So there's a lot of emotion whenever you're talking about your childhood home. A lot of people, when you talk about childhood home, they might smell a smell, or it might be something that's kind of different, or like hear something that's going on. It's not always just like that visual memory like we might have of the Mona Lisa. So I'm doing this exercise to kind of get you to think about how memory works, because we want people to remember the information that we're giving them. So if we think more about how memory works, then we can craft our messages to be something that sticks in people's brains. So remember the way that memories work. So there's abstract memory. We talked about concrete memory, visual memory, all those different types of things. Okay, good. Everyone feeling good? Let me know if I'm going too fast by using the participant thing, because sometimes I go kind of fast. Okay, so that leaves us back to our PowerPoint that we're on, talking about making things simple. So simple means to distill things down. So I really want you all to remember this acronym. So I'm going to challenge you to either type or write out each one as we go to help get them in your brain. So the first one was simple. So if you want to type it in the chat to remind yourself, if you want to write it down on a piece of paper, if you want to type it in a Word doc or in a text message, just get those things stuck in your brain. So first is simple. So simple, and that means to distill things down to the essence so that people can understand. Okay, next, we're going to go to unexpected. So first S is simple. The second letter is U for unexpected. So it's a violation of a schema to get someone's attention. To hold attention by leaving out some curiosity gaps. Your audience has to wait to want it before their message can stick. Okay, so have you all ever watched a terrible TV show? Like I always think about those like procedural dramas like NCIS or Law and Order. I mean, I'm not saying that they're all terrible, but they're not like the best things in the world, but you have to stay till the end because you have to know what happened, right? There's that mystery component to it, and you really want to know, like, how does this turn out? I mean, they always go to jail, but you have to know what happened. That is the curiosity gap. So whenever you're giving a message to someone, leave a few of the vital information out so that they're piqued. They're like, I want to know how it ends. Like, tell me more about it. I mean, something that comes to my mind is you might be talking about, trying to think of their different agencies. or organizations. I'm thinking about maybe Nighthon, of saying like, we raise money, and you don't tell them how much until the very end. And you're like, oh my gosh, it's so unexpected. And like, oh, I was waiting. I was so curious to what the final reveal was going to be, right? We'd like to do a lot of reveals. That sort of thing is making it stick, because you want your audience to want that. You want to give them the aha experience of learning some new information too, right? Okay, so first S was, does anyone remember? Type it in the chat if you remember. Simple, yes. Simple, simple. And then the second one was, anyone remember? It's right there. Unexpected. So you got simple, then unexpected. Okay. So now we're going to do another little activity. So I want you to either write or type these down, okay? So the way that we're going to do this is I am going to read a series of letters to you. You're not going to write or type while I'm talking. When I say go at the end, you're going to either write or type out these letters, and we're going to see who can remember the most of them, okay? So I'm going to say them to you. You're not going to write or type, so like pencils down, and then when I go, you write down as many as you can remember, okay? Y'all ready? Okay, so get your pencil, pen, typing. If you want to type it in the chat, that's completely fine too. Like, feel free to use that if that's what you have up on your device and you don't have pen and paper or marker or whatever. Feel free to type it there. Okay. Is anyone not ready and needs more time? Let me know. Okay, we're gonna go. Okay, so starting the letters now. J, F, K, F, B. I, N, A, T. O, U, P. S, N, A. S, A, I. R, S. Go. I'm seeing a couple people typing it in the chat. So I'm going to say, who thinks that they have the most letters? Who thinks they have the most letters? And how many? Maybe you could put that in the chat. How many you think you got correct? Let's see who has the most. Does anyone think, I've seen several of them with, let's see how many letters. I've seen several with 10. Does anyone think they have more than 10? Okay. I'm not getting any feedback on how many you think you got, besides a few of you that typed them in. Oh, you think you got 14? There was a lot of letters. Let's see if no one has typed out the exact answer of all of them. So we're going to do it again. We're going to do it the same letters. Okay. So get out your piece of paper or type again. So same letters, same sequence. Y'all ready? Okay. We'll check if they're right at the end. So everyone get ready again. I'm going to start the letters. Okay, pencils down while you wait. Okay. JFK, FBI, NATO, UPS, NASA, IRS. Tell me how many you got. Yep. You are doing a great job. So someone tell me, why was it easier that time? They were acronyms. The letters have meaning to you. That's exactly correct. So the letters are the same letters, but I put them in a way that helped you understand them. Instead of pausing at random spots, I took and I said, okay, I'm going to chunk this into little pieces to help you understand. So we talked about memory being like Velcro. So think of it like that. When you're trying to give a message to someone, you really want to use that prior knowledge. And also, I'm helping you remember unexpected because you weren't expecting me to do that, right? So think about how you're delivering that message. I love that little thing. If y'all didn't get it, it was JFK. They also are things that have to do with our government. So they all had a similar idea behind them that helps you remember them. I didn't just give you acronyms that didn't have anything to do with them. So I'll put in the chat the actual answer, which is JFK, FBI, NATO, UPS, NASA, and IRS. So, okay, so now we're going to go back and move on to our next one, which is making things concrete. So we've talked a lot about this already. This is show them and help them make a picture in their head if they're able to do that. I know some people are not able to do that, but if they are, help them see that picture, help them go back to those ideas of things that they've had before. Like I use those ideas for you, like think of the Mona Lisa, think of the first line of your favorite song. You're helping people connect to their memory. So when you're doing this with an idea that you want to get across, you really want to use things that are super concrete. If you can, let them experience what it's like, right? I think of making things concrete. Our design group uses this a lot whenever they're using images to help people like, oh, that's what it would be like to be at that concert, or that's what it would be like to be at that comedy show, making it really concrete for your audience. Okay, so we're gonna go back and see if we remember. What is the first S? Simple, good job. What is the second letter? Unexpected, yes, the letter is U. For unexpected, very good. Simple, unexpected. And then the third one is C for concrete. Okay, simple, unexpected, concrete. Wonderful job. Okay, the next one is about being credible. Let them try it before they buy it. This is the idea of, you want to get something that you feel like is coming from a good source. So if you can let someone like see what it's about, you tell them, what the experience would be from a credible source. Like if you've had someone that has gone to a court workshop before and gives a testimonial, that's like credibility that, oh, this was a good thing to go to, right? You can use vivid details, authorities. So we've had, the president of UCF come and talk about homecoming and why it's so important before. And anti-authority is pretty interesting. That's like those, if you've ever seen the tobacco smoking commercials, and you'll have someone on there that's like, I smoked for 35 years, don't do it. And they've got like the trach. That's an anti-authority. It's like, I did the thing, it was bad, so I'm telling you not to do it. And then human scale statistics, so that people understand the thing that you're really talking about. You also, if you're going to use data, it has to be something that's digestible for people. So you don't want to be like, if I told you like, in the US, this is a made up statistic, by the way, so please don't quote me. In the US, 50,000 dogs are put to sleep every day. That just feels like too much, right? But if you show the photo of one dog that's about to be put down, you're like, so you're making it digestible, right? You're showing like, oh, you see a statistic that might seem too big, but then you're making it like really real for people. Okay, so let's see if we remember. Our first S was simple. That's right. Your second letter was U for unexpected. Your third letter was C, and it stood for concrete. And your fourth letter was another C that stood for credible. Okay, very good. You guys are doing great. Okay, our next letter is emotional. Okay, when we talk about emotional, you got to tap into what people are caring about. And people care about people, not numbers, which is what I was alluding to earlier. Show that one dog and we get like, oh, I got to save that one dog. But if you tell me like all the things, it's like too much. We do a really great job of this, of like kind of giving testimonials or being really specific on things instead of too large for our brains to process. Appeal to their self-interest, like what's in it for me? Like emotional, like what's in it? What am I going to get for this? Why would I want to be a part of this? Like get into that part. Another thing when we think about emotional is there's lots of different emotions that you could tap into when giving your message, right? It could be happy. Type me some of your ideas. What kind of emotions you could use? Happy and laughter is one that we go to a lot. What are other emotions? Sad, something that, you're hearing that in the arms of an angel going on, right? Makes us sad. Want to help that. You could be angry about something. Like, yeah, you're right. I don't get enough training. I need to go do that. And the injustice. They're spending my student dollars and I'm not taking advantage of it. Yes. Disgust. I can't believe that's happening. I'm going to go volunteer and help with that. That's a great one. There's so many different emotions that you can use, and think about all those things. Fear of missing out is a great one to use. That's an emotion to tap into, helping getting students to be a part of your organizations. But there's lots, so always think about that. Okay, so we're coming close to the end, people. Let's see if we can remember them all. The first S is simple. The second letter is unexpected. The third letter is concrete. The fourth letter is credible. That's right. The fifth is emotional. That's right. And then we have stories. So stories prompt people to act. Like when we were talking about urban legends earlier, we talked about them in a story arc, and that really sticks in your brain, right? Like you can see that guy, he's like a traveler, this woman buys him a drink. He ends up in a bathtub with no kidneys. Like, it's a story, right? I'm seeing the arc of it, and it helps me remember it. It's why we use stories to teach children about concepts. Like, I always think of like the little engine that could, right? You have a fable that's teaching people a story. So our brains are made to remember stories. You just throw facts at people, they're going to be like, cool, that's cool. And they're going to walk away and they'll be like, I don't know what that was about, right? So you have to use other ways to help people remember things. Stories are basically flight simulators for your brain. They let them guess on how they would have reacted in a situation. The next best thing to experiencing a situation is the ability to visualize it for yourself. So telling that story is like, ooh, if I was in that, if I saw the Bigfoot, what would I do? Or the Chupacabra. And stories also inspire and motivate people. Okay, so stories are really important when you're trying to get a message across. You want your message to be simple, but as you're explaining it to people, so like that fable is simple, right? I think it can. But the story that goes along with it helps imprint that in your mind. Okay, so we're going to recap for one last time. You all ready? Okay, we've got simple, unexpected, concrete, credible, emotional, and stories. So that is one of the best ways to help ideas stick in people's brains. And I really want you all to think about using this definitely in your agency work, but it's anything you can use in your life. If you're doing a presentation in class, if you're trying to persuade someone to do something that you really want to do, think about this to help keep those things in their mind. Remember, people don't speak professional. That means don't use a lot of jargon when you're talking about your organization and acronyms that they won't understand. It's like, join VUCF and do an ABP. They're like, I don't know your language, right? They speak sticky. So help them understand what those things mean. And then the acknowledgments of the people that helped make this and where these images came from. And also the idea behind this came from a wonderful book. If you have time to read it, I highly recommend it. It's called Made to Stick. It's by Chip and Dan. I don't see the last name. I think it's Heath on there. But you can just Google Made to Stick.